But today, what I wanted you to take from today is I am a builder of 35 years. I worked on old farmhouses, I built timber frame buildings, I jacked, I leveled, everything you can imagine when it comes to a home or a homestead or a cabin, I have had my hands on. One of the best tricks that I can pass on to you if you're a new builder or if you have an old home is what we're going to do today is I'm going to use what's called a water level. The water level that I'm going to use today I purchased 35 years ago. Probably only cost about $10 back then. Now if you don't know what a water level is, stay tuned to today's video because this is one of those tricks that you can use if you're putting a porch on your house, a deck, or an addition, if you're putting in a new kitchen, if you're putting in a countertop. This water level can be used to set mobile homes. That's primarily what I used them for way back when, was setting modulars and stuff like that. So this water level is a very easy tool to use. Good morning, my name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. We're getting ready to build a cabin here, as you could probably tell from the thumbnail. I have finally got all of the materials in here so I can start as far as the pads. I've got my sills in here. I've got my floor joister in here. But today I'm going to start out with all this stuff is being done a mile back in the woods. Everything's been trucked in with this six-wheeler. And I have it divided up back at home base, divided up into piles that will come out here as needed. And then I will nail them in place and just keep making little trips because it's just a six-wheeler. But I'm going to do my very best to explain how I'm going to use a water level to set my pads for this cabin. Like I said, it's a very simple technique. It's thousands of years old. It goes back to the Egyptians. It's nothing complicated about it at all. The only complication part is if I can get from here onto that camera so that it's helpful to you. It's more accurate than a transit because water always finds its own level. Always, always, always. And that's what makes this water level so handy in setting these pads or putting a deck on or installing a kitchen. So this runs the gamut when it comes to house building. So enough of that. I'm going to give you a tour of the cabin site. It looks like a construction site now. I've got a huge toolbox hauled in here. I've got a big table. The toolbox, I'm going to take you over and show it to you. It's a freezer. Why go out and spend a whole lot of money buying a big toolbox to stick back in here? Now, it's white right now. I'm going to camouflage it up here within the next week or two. But what that gives me is a big square box that I can put all my nails in. I could drop my tools in there really quick in case of rain because they're watertight, and I can throw a top over it if I want to. I found that freezer about 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now. I've been eyeballing it since last spring. Someone threw it in the woods because obviously it doesn't work anymore. And rather than give the town $10 to throw it away, they thought it was better to drive up in the woods and chuck it out in the woods. So I salvaged that, brought it back here, cleaned it up, and now I've got all of my nails are in there, my water level's in there. Anything that I want to kind of keep track of, I will keep inside of that freezer. And when I am finished with it, I will move it into my woodshed that I build here, and we'll continue to use it as a big toolbox. The other thing that I was able to pick up on the way here 2 days ago was a big table. I'm going to show you that too. That was free on the side of the road. If it only lasts long enough to build this building, that's great. It gives me a workbench. And when I'm finished with it, I'll load it back on the six-wheeler and drive it to the dump. Or I'll salvage the legs under it and turn it into some kind of folding table out here for taking care of animals or whatever. We'll see. It's got some usable steel parts on it. But I'll show you that too. My pressure treated's out here. My pads are out here. I've got my sills in back of me. And I've also got my floor joists over on the other side of this six-wheeler. So today is the day that we actually start putting this place together. By the end of the day, I hope to have my floor built. And then tomorrow I will haul in the floorboards. They're waiting at home base, ready to come out here. And then tomorrow I'll be able to nail down the floor. And then I'll be ready to start standing walls. So once this floor is done, the rest of it's a cakewalk. The tricky part right now is getting those pads in. And that's where I want to show you the water level. Now all the water level is a clear piece of tubing. I've had this piece of tubing for 30 years. I believe that's probably 1/4 inch. You can buy it at any hardware store. And then what you fill it up with is windshield washer fluid. And then you set this windshield washer fluid anywhere that's higher than what you're working on. I've got a table you've seen in my videos, so I'm going to set it right on that table. It does not matter the height of this jug, not at all. Then you take this hose, you stick it inside that jug, and you siphon until the water comes out the other end. Now the only thing that really matters here, that from the time that you start your measurements from the very first pad to the last one, is you cannot lose 1 drop of water. If you lose a drop of water, or if you lose a lot of water out of this tube, the windshield washer fluid, then you have to go back and start over. Water will always seek its own level. You never seen a lake that wasn't level. Well, it's the same thing, or a swimming pool. Water always seeks its own level. So if you start out and you lose a 1/2 cup of liquid, now you've changed the level from your first post. So you cannot, what I do is one end goes in here, I tie it off, make sure it doesn't fall out. And then when I want to set this hose down, I take a 8-penny nail and I put the head inside of there, and that keeps the liquid from falling out. And the other thing I do is just like a siphon hose, is then I bring it back and I tie it to the top of the jug so that it's higher than the water that's in the jug, so you don't lose any of your liquid. That's the only thing that matters, and that's the only thing that you could do to screw up. Alright, all 4 pads are installed. So now what we're going to do is dig out the water level, and I will show you how I'll do that. There's no special place you got to put the pads. You just got to level them up so that they fit your building. But as far as height of the pads, does not matter. The only height that we're after, as you can see, I've got a pressure treated post over here on the pad with a level on top of it. The only special thing about that height is I need it to be higher than that stump you see the level setting on. I didn't want that stump to be anywhere near the cabin. I'll be building right over the top of it. So the only thing you have to pick out is what your height is. And it can be anything. There's nothing special at this time other than whatever you need. What we need the water level for is to tell us the height of the other 3 posts. I'm putting 4 pads under this cabin, so I need to know the height of the individual post. So what we do is we mark the pad with a number 1, and then you go to the next pad and it's number 2, the next one number 3, and then 4, and so on if you had a whole bunch of them. Okay, water level's full. I don't know if you can see that, but see it's running down. Let's see here. See if I move that jug. I don't know if you can see in that hose, but the water goes up and down. And all that it's doing is finding its level, which is the top of that inside of the jug. So we're good to go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to mark this pad right here, number 2. And all we do is take this board, you stand it up on that pad, take your nail out. Now I'm going to hold this up high, hopefully, so you'll see it coming down. Oop. I don't know if I don't know if you can see that or not. All right. Now see that water? See it going up in the hose? When it stops, that's the height. Mark that, number 2. Now what you do, now see all this is giving us is the height to this pad to our water jug over there. So here's what I did. We set the water level up. You saw that. The pad that had the pressure treated post on it, you saw that. This is post number 1. That's the one with the pressure treated pad. This is the very top of the cement pad, not the post. So you take your water level and you measure all 4 pads. Here's 1 I measured, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Now we already put the level on the stump, so I know the height that I want to be higher than that stump, and I chose 10 inches. So from the very top of the pad that you can see here in the drawing, you measure up number 1. No, you don't measure up. This is the number 1 pad that post is sitting on. You put your tape measure on that, and then we know that post I want is 10 inches, so this is the top of the first post, which is already cut. Now for pad number 2, now that's the question mark. How long is that? From the same measurement, because we used our water level, you put that up on number 2, and you see that? It's 11 3/4. So I need to cut a pressure treated post for pad number 2 at 11 3/4 of an inch. It's no longer a mystery. Pad number 3 is the same thing. That's 9 inches. So pad number 3 is 9 inches. And so on through your project. Here's the last pad that I did, which is 6 1/4 inches. So number 4 is 6 1/4 inches. So now I can go cut all of my posts, put them in place, and then put my 6x6 sill on top of that. See the drawing? Now we know this measurement. Pad number 1, we set the 6x6. Now we can set our 6x6 on top of our pads, and it will be perfectly level every single time, and you can bank on it, and you can make money on it if you want to make some bets with some people. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go cut my pressure treated pad. Well, it's the end of the day. It's hot. I'm tired. As you can see, the deck is built. Time for ice cold lemonade. Still frozen, hardly any coming out. I got the pads installed. I got the 2 sills installed today. And I got all of the floor joist installed. And I hopefully it came out. We'll find out. I hopefully was able to work you through how to run a water level today. It's one of those tools that was, I used it for 35 years in the building industry. I used it on every timber frame structure I ever built. I used it on every siding job. I used it on every kitchen I put in. I just can't say enough good about a water level. But I sure wish that, I guess it's Richard, his name's Charles from Kentucky. Hello, Charles. Charles is a very good supporter of this channel. Can't say enough good about him. But anyways, he told me that I guess he lives in Kentucky. And he told me the other day that he sent some of this weather my way. Well, Charles, I'm telling you right now, we don't need it. We don't need it at all. It was cloudy here most of the day, but it was still hot. I think it got up to at least 85 to 90 degrees today. But I was not going to stop until I had that part of this job done. Because that's the hardest part, believe it or not. Getting your pad set, getting all them posts just where you want them. And I'll put a level on it tomorrow. A level has not been on that floor yet. But I guarantee you with that water level and this technique, it's perfectly level. You get the heights of all those posts, and anybody that's tried this to build a deck or to build one of these buildings, and you watch them, they try to hold a straight edge, put a level on it, and get down to the other end so they can get their mark. There's just too many things to hang on to. And this water level is just so simple to get the 4 measurements. On this building, there's 4 outside posts. It's just so simple to get that measurement for that post without having to go through all that holding stuff to try and scribe a line across there to get a good place to start from. The same thing with hanging vinyl siding. You know, especially on the older houses, there's nothing this level. So you've got to have something that's level that you can go by on every job. And I always like that water level. 1, because it doesn't cost much. And number 2, I can throw it in the front of my truck or in the back of my truck, and I always had it with me. A little bit of windshield washer fluid, which is at every gas station on your way to work if you don't have any. So it always was a really good thing for me. But the building has begun. You probably can't see, but I'm adding some water to that frozen ice in there. Because this old boy is parched. Alrighty. I will see you in the next one. If you like this series and you want to follow along this cabin build, make sure to throw me a bone, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. This is a project that's beyond just this cabin. We're going to be putting out some bear stands and some deer stands. There's already bear moved into the area, chasing down the raspberry patch. So I've been seeing bear sign out in the raspberry patch, and I've been seeing bear scat all the way in here. 2 days ago I found 3 piles of bear scat just on the ride in when I was hauling in the floor joist. So follow along, and I will see you in the next one.